as we celebrate more than 225 years of the U.S. Navy Supply Corps. Let's meet Commander Mark Bomer, the USS Bataan Supply Officer who makes sure the ship is ready for sea, and there is plenty to do.
We've got a huge budget, a $13 million budget to run. Our job is to keep everyone full mission capable. Our job is to make sure that we can get the plant turned on and we can get the boilers going and get underway. We can get those aircraft up and flying. Safety is sustained, people are fed, everything is good to go, ready to be operated and ready to be executed.
Bomer and the ship's supply team support the mission of the USS Bataan to enable the Navy and Marine Corps team to accomplish a seamless transition from the sea to the land battle as the lead ship in a group.
Bataan's getting ready to go underway. We're going to be heading out to sea here, doing local ops in preparation for basic phase certification events, and also be working on our flight deck certification. During that underway, we anticipate providing routine support to the crew. That routine support is hotel services, that'll be food service, laundry. We'll also probably issue parts. Normally we issue 1 or 2 high-pri parts to the engineers, maintain material capability of the ship. If aircraft require parts, we'll also issue parts to the aircraft. Overall, it's a pretty routine underway. Supply will run normal operations. We'll be ready to support the crew.
The USS Bataan is an amphibious warfare ship, the second largest class of ship in the U.S. Navy. It's as long as the height of a 90-story building and moves at 20 knots or about 23 miles an hour. Bomer oversees Supply Corps officers and supply enlisted personnel to perform a wide array of functions on the ship.
One of the biggest challenges we have there is we're not doing 1,000 sailors worth of supplies and laundry. We're doing 3,000 sailors and Marines. We're providing that support to the Marines, getting those Marines ready to go out and do the job that they need to do. Supporting the Marines mostly entails serving food to them, making sure they're well fed. They're also rested. We work with the different departments on the ship to coordinate berthing requirements. And then we have ship store support. We have laundry support. A lot of the hotel services, if you want to go with a more generic term, are provided by the crew and by the supply department. It is a routine requirement. It seems pretty simple and straightforward, but it's always a daunting challenge because the Marines will face different environments and they'll come back at different times and we'll have to adapt to support them.
Reporting to him are 8 officers, 60 culinary specialists, 35 logistics specialists, and 20 retail services specialists, performing duties that touch every sailor on the ship, from the daily supplies they use to food, ship store, postal services, and haircuts, to name a few.
So the Bataan Supply Department, mixture of first tour, second tour officers, obviously a lot of chiefs, senior chiefs, mass chiefs. We've got a robust capability. Our capability is very similar to what you would have on a carrier, but scaled down. We have hazmat capabilities. We have a much bigger depth of hazmat than some of the smaller surface combatants.
Bomer and his team work with every department on the ship, supporting them on all levels, from supply transportation to and from the beach with landing craft air cushion or LCACs, to spare parts for repair and maintenance of the ship's aircraft.
So supply works with the ACU, the Assault Craft Unit, to make sure that the parts are on board to support the hovercraft, the LCACs going to and from the beach. We also use the LCACs to move parts to and from the beach and supplies to and from the beach. So there's a coordination aspect of keeping the equipment up, the weapon systems up as we would call them. If we need to get someone ashore because of an emergency, maybe they're traveling because of a medical reason, we can use the LCACs for that if we're not using the helicopters.
When the USS Bataan aids civilians in crisis, Bomer and the ship's supply team have to be prepared for anything.
So one of the missions that Bataan has been called to do in the past is humanitarian assistance and disaster response. The mission is a very difficult mission because you never know what you're going to find when you get there.
The USS Bataan surged to Haiti within 48 hours to help after the devastating 7.0 earthquake.
One of the greatest capacities on the ship is making water. So if you think about a disaster event, you can't be certain that the water is not contaminated, that the water is safe to drink. So we can make the water here, fill it up in a water bladder or a water buffalo, and bring them water. So that's a huge thing for a relief effort, is to have water.
During this mission, 1,100 USS Bataan sailors and Marines provided 1,000 pallets of relief supplies and transported hundreds of patients via LCACs to other ships and hospitals for medical care.
So for providing relief supplies, we obviously have to use our stores, break those out, maintain awareness of our inventories, our paper products.
This was a huge job to feed and shelter displaced Haitians and took over 10 weeks. Another challenge was turning the USS Bataan into a floating hospital with 600 beds.
We'll look at what we've got on hand, what we can prepare. That makes it easy. What makes it hard is those events that are down a little further south in the Caribbean, where we have to possibly bring survivors back to the ship and do medical treatment. Medical treatment really challenges the ship. It brings in other departments, including the doctors, the fleet surgical team. We will support the medical team. It is not uncommon for us to get in theater and they say, hey, you know what, we need 100 more IVs. We're expecting a lot of dehydrated people. So then we go chase the IV bags. We got to find a place to get them from. We got to get them here. So it's really a two-part equation. It's the procurement and then it's the delivery.
The Supply Corps prides itself on training officers to be innovative, resourceful, and ethical. Their jobs can vary significantly from one duty station to another, requiring logistics know-how and expert understanding of financial inventory and fuels management, distribution, and procurement.
It's about looking at that perspective and saying, is this the right thing to do? Is this the right decision? What would this decision look like? And really having that sense of what we want to accomplish. So sometimes ready for sea is recognizing you have the material on board and you've staged it and you're ready to execute it. And other times it's about knowing that bigger team that's out there, knowing that whole supply chain, knowing where you can reach back, knowing how to reach back, and knowing when and where.
A big thanks to sailors like Commander Mark Bomer, who have contributed to the rich and successful history of the U.S. Navy Supply Corps.